All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Sunday, June 23rd. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. So, Clayton, we are here with the early Sunday numbers because we just could not wait to report this anymore. I mean, these numbers are so tantalizing. We just want to say them on mic. And so we're here with an early Sunday show. So it's very exciting here. Incredible holds to talk about. So, Clayton, uh, you're going to get to do the honors now of saying these numbers
Mm-hmm.
for our plow. So can you give us a plow for the weekend of Friday, June 21st, 2024? I can't wait to hear these numbers. I'm so excited.
Number one, Inside Out 2 made $100 million in its second weekend, down only 35%. It is at $355.1 million. Number two, Bad Boys Ride or Die made $18.7 million, down only 44%. It lost 104 theaters. It's at $146.9 million in its third weekend. Number three, A Newbie, The Bike Riders made $10 million in its first
Mhm.
frame. Number four, This Cat's Up Here Eating, the Garfield movie, made $3.6 million, down only 24%. It hemorrhaged theaters, losing 398. It is at $85.1 million in its fifth weekend. And these freaking apes, man. Number five, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes made $3.6 million, down only 35%. A virtual tie with Garfield. We'll see who wins, ape or cat, this Monday. But for right now, they're tied up. The apes lost 190 theaters, but they're at $164.3 million in their seventh weekend. And then I just want to draw some attention down to unlucky number 11, The Exorcism, $2.4 million in only 2,240 theaters in its first weekend. Pat, I think you said 6 million for this one. How are you feeling about that?
Okay, here's the thing. I said $6 million because I assumed that the audience here was going to be confused and think that this was in fact a sequel to Russell Crowe's other Exorcist movie, The Pope's Exorcist. I assumed that's what would happen. Mass nationwide confusion would break out. That is not what happened. People, and I read about this in Scott Mendelson, the tribal chief, his newsletter, The Outside Scoop. He basically stated people were not confused. They wanted a Pope's Exorcist sequel. They realized this would not be it. And so, yes, people didn't go. It was not $6 million opening. It was a terrible opening. But I think it's a positive here because it shows the nation isn't as easily confused as I assumed they would be. I think that's good. I think it's good that the nation isn't as easily fooled, isn't as I guess just
Gullible?
unaware,
Are you going to
gullible and
say gullible?
unaware, gullible. They're not as gullible as I said that they would be last week. So good for them being citizens of the United States. Good for them that they realize that the exorcism was not the Pope's Exorcist Part 2. If it was the Pope's Exorcist Part 2, this movie makes over $6 million. That's a slam doink. But they
Well,
realized it was not. It was about, I mean, Clayton, I'll throw this to you because of course this episode, the thing we need to start off talking about is The Exorcism. That's the movie of the moment.
mm-hmm.
um in The Pope's Exorcist, Russell Crowe plays a priest who's friends with the Pope. In The Exorcism that opened and bombed this weekend, Russell Crowe plays an actor. So is this does this make it clear that in terms of professions that people are interested in right now at this moment 2024, people are much more interested in priests than in wannabe actors?
I think generally the Hollywood sort of movie about Hollywood rarely does spectacular. I mean, there are outliers, obviously, but I do think that there's a level of, you know, the people in entertainment being more interested in themselves than the general public here.
Mhm.
So I do think that that had that was a reason why this movie maybe didn't do as well. I mean, makes you worry for Maxine, which is about an actor.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, so we'll see how that does, but,
That's
I
alarming,
don't
yeah.
I w I would say nuns are more having a moment than priests,
Mhm.
but it does help when someone like Sydney Sweeney is playing the nun.
Right, 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 right. Or the movie is called The Nun, and it's about a freaky nun in a painting, people like that. Yeah, I mean, you brought up Maxine, that is, about Hollywood.
Mhm.
Do we think now that that movie would have a better chance if she was playing a nun instead of playing coming off of X, if she was playing that character as a wannabe nun rather than a wannabe actress? Do we feel like this opening weekend or The Exorcism is making the producers of Maxine a little nervous, seeing how poorly the behind the scenes on a movie set, film did this weekend?
Yeah, if I were them, I'd be a little bit nervous, for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely, definitely. Does this mean anything
I'd
for
be
Russell Crowe?
I'd be anxious.
Oh, with 3 X's?
Well, also, anxiety being the big
Oh, so
breakout
you wanna
star
well,
for Inside.
okay. You wanna
We don't
move
need to
over
talk
to
about
Inside
Russell
Out
Crowe.
too.
We don't need to
Y
talk about Russell Crowe.
so you
He's
wanna
fine.
move over to Inside Out 2. Before we get to the opening the second weekend of Inside Out 2, this historic second weekend, we gotta talk, of course, about BB4, Bad Boys 4. The
Mhm,
the the people, especially the ones who watch our YouTube channel, they demand this from us, that we talk about this incredible hold for Bad Boys
mhm.
4. Um, I mean, let's dig into this. Uh, Will Smith. I mean, great job out of him with this 3rd weekend. Is that one of the big stories of the weekend? Easily, you would say.
Yeah, we can't praise this man enough.
We can't, and our listeners and our viewers won't let us praise him any less. They demand we praise Will Smith and his
Mhm,
box office some more to at the top of this episode. So $18.7 million, down only 44%. Bad Boys 4, aka Bad Boys Ride or Die, aka BBROD, is
mhm,
now at $146.9 million domestic. It's fantastic. It's now up there as gonna end up being one of the biggest R-rated hits, gonna be one of the, biggest hits for a movie that is an action movie where the lead character has no special powers, so
mhm.
non-superhero, non-alien, non-spaceman type movies. Uh, you know, I'll throw this out there. Bad Boys, bigger franchise than Lethal Weapon. Would you agree with that at this point?
Do you mean at its height, or do you mean at the moment?
I mean, well, at the moment, definitely. I mean, I think that's a slam doink that Bad Boys 5 is a lot more viable than Lethal Weapon 5. But I'm talking up until now, historical as a box office movie franchise. Is BB Bad Boys bigger than LW?
Well, we'll have to look at the numbers.
Okay.
I have not, memorized what the Lethal Weapon movies have made box
Right.
office-wise,
Right,
much
right,
to my
right.
chagrin,
Mhm.
but, I mean, it is a tale of the tape here when it comes to the numbers, and, I'm looking at these domestic grosses for these Lethal Weapon movies. I mean, Lethal Weapon 2 made 147.
Mhm.
The 3rd one made 144, the 4th one made 130. This is all spanning the late '80s to the late '90s.
Right, right, right.
So, when we're
And we don't
talking.
do inflation on the show, obviously, so
Uh-huh,
that would change things, huh? Of course. Yes.
but you do have to take into account, and I guess we are talking inflation in this way,
We are, yeah.
just the amount, of money 147 million was in '89 compared to what it is now.
Right, right, right.
So, I would say they're sort of neck and neck.
They're neck and neck. I mean, the thing that'll put the Bad Boys franchise over the top is when BB5 inevitably comes out, and I would say inevitably opens to, 50 or $60 million in a couple of
Mhm.
years.
Their tra
That Yeah.
Yeah. Their trajectories are similar, and the first one was a modest hit, and then
Yep.
really the sequel sort of built on those. So they are again, not to, I don't want to, I can't make a definitive thing. I know it's better radio if I definitively picked a winner here, but
Hot take, yeah. Well, listen, when the BO boys get our daily drive time 4-hour a day radio show, this would be just hours of calls that we're taking on
mhm.
this topic of Bad Boys versus Lethal Weapon. What's the bigger franchise? It's just we throw that out there. Our producer just the soundboard, the call board just lights up. And we're just taking calls. We're arguing. We're yelling at people for hours and hours, and it's great radio.
Now, before we get to Inside Out 2, we do have to talk about the newbie, the bike riders, which made
Yep.
$10 million. I said 9. It was 9 for a while.
Yep.
I
I think
think,
I said 11. I might have went a little higher than this, but I was the one who did say this is double digits.
yeah, and I mean, this is as I mean, I think Monday we're gonna see this thing in the nines,
Oh,
honestly.
I think Monday we're gonna see this thing higher than 10.
I don't
I
agree with that. I disagree with that.
Well, we've gotta go by, for right now, the numbers we're reporting.
Oh, yeah.
So, you can't take credit for 9 because you think that it's gonna end up at 9. We're going by what we're looking at on the numbers right now and what Jeff Bach, Exhibitor Relations Co. and Deadline, they're all reporting double digits.
Yeah,
So,
so I mean, but also you saying that I mean, double digits, 10 is just barely double digits.
well,
So
it's
you
it's
crowing that you said double
I
digit
am
and it
crowing.
being 10 is sort of also disingenuous. But let's just say that this did okay.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a tale of what does it do next weekend? I mean, I think that, and not to do a cop out, but right now this is a okay opening, but the fact that a movie that's 3 weeks older, Bad Boys, uh, stomped this movie, and I know they're
Oh,
on
but,
different
come on.
turn.
Yeah.
Listen
They're not.
though, if you are Austin Butler and you are an emerging star, we said he's an up and comer.
Mhm.
You want to, in your first weekend, beat a movie that's in its third weekend. Like, you're not gonna beat
They're
Inside
t
Out 2.
they're totally different types of movies, though. I mean, Bad Boys is an incredibly highly promoted summer action movie. The Bike Riders is a contemplative, 60s hangout movie. Come on.
Listen, Pat, you're thinking like a chump here. Austin Butler, are you calling Austin Butler a chump that he's
I'm calling
thinking,
Austin Butler a guy who opened this movie that Jeff Nichols has never had directed a movie that has opened in double digits, and I'll make sure I'm gonna check on Mud and see if
"Oh,
Mud
there's
in its
I don't
first
think."
weekend of wide release okay, so Jeff Nichols has never, ever had a movie open in double digits. Most of his box office run of his movies are movies that ended up in the teens. So
Yeah.
I think some Austin Butler gets the credit for opening a movie to $10 million that with other actors of similar ability opens to 1 or $2 million.
Here's my argument, Pat, is
What do you
that
think Austin Butler should have opened The Bike Riders to? This is a
no,
movie
no,
that
no.
should have opened to
He
25?
No, no. Here's what I'm saying, Pat. This is about the strength of Will Smith, not the weakness of Austin Butler. What
Oh,
I'm
we're always
saying
talking
here
about the
is
strength of Will Smith, of course. Our listeners demand we talk about the strength of Will Smith,
so here's what I'm
and our
saying,
YouTube viewers.
is that if you're Austin Butler and you see this release date and you see that Bad Boys was coming, because of course he's going to follow box office because he wants
Oh,
to be a star, and box office is important when it comes to your stardom, right?
right.
He's thinking by then it's third weekend of Bad Boys Ride or Die. And that movie will be in the maybe high single digits, maybe low double digits. That's his thought process because that was everybody's thought process. So he's thinking, I could open this movie higher than Bad Boys. But the thing is, these Bad Boys holds have been great. So
Right.
therefore, he's stuck at 3. That's my thought. I'm not saying that Jeff Nichols is going to direct a movie to $25 million. That will never happen.
But
What I'm
that'll never
saying is
happen.
that you're Austin Butler, you're looking at these spectacular holds for Bad Boys, and you're thinking, gosh darn it, I guess I'm stuck at 3 instead of stuck at 2.
I think, and you've brought this up before about actors who are rooting against other films that are open at the same time. And I think someone like Austin Butler looks at these incredible holds for Bad Boys, and we'll get to it, these holds for Inside Out, and he's not saying, "Gosh darn it. Um, gosh darn it, I wish Bad Boys did worse so that my number could open higher in the rankings." I think Austin Butler is like, "All right, cool. People are going to the movies. People are"
Well,
that's what Austin Butler is saying. "People are going to the movies, and they went to see my movie, biggest opening for a Jeff Nichols movie of all time by far." And I think Austin Butler's all right with that.
God, you
And
really
he got to
give
double
these
digits.
people so much humility when it comes to other people's accomplishments. I'm not saying he's rooting against theatrical, obviously. There's a part of him, though, that wants to be in the number 2 movie in America, the number 1 R-rated movie in America. You understand that these things mean things to these people, and it's not rooting against Bad
But he's
Boys and Will Smith to want to have made enough money to beat them.
sure, but that was not gonna happen when Bad Boys is in its, what is this, 3rd weekend, is making almost $19,000,000. And Austin Butler, as we've established, follows the box office. He listens to the BO Boys, he reads Scott Mendelson, follows Jeff Bach on Twitter, but he knows the bike riders is not gonna sniff 19,000,000 opening weekend when you start to see that that is what Bad Boys 4 is coming in at. If Bad Boys 4 made 11 and just barely squeaked by the bike riders, sure, then at that point, he's like, "Man, came close. This is I woulda liked to get, flip-flop that." But he knows he's not opening a Jeff Nichols movie to 19-20 million dollars.
Pat, okay, I
Unless
guess
he's playing Elvis in The Bike Riders, he knew that wasn't gonna be what happens here.
I guess we're agreeing, but we can't get to the point where we understand that we're agreeing. I think that's what's happening here.
Sure, and we never will. Yeah, we'll never understand what's happening in this moment.
But here's what I'll
Books
say.
will be written about this portion of this episode of the BO Boys.
Here's what I'll say about the bike riders and Austin Butler.
Mhm.
Austin Butler is excited about this Inside Out 2 $100 million record break in second weekend because
Okay.
obviously neither of them, Bad Boys or the bike riders, were going to sniff this. So I think that is something that I can happily say that Austin Butler is very excited about.
Yes, yes. I cannot I don't think we could overstate how gigantic this second weekend of Inside Out 2 is,
Mhm.
because $100,000,000, second weekend, $100,000,000 would have been an in a huge victory for what the opening weekend of
Mhm.
Inside Out 2 would have been. So the fact that this is the second weekend, we cannot now at this point understate what a potentially historic run this movie is on. It
Mhm.
is here. It is here. Because I'm gonna throw something at you right now, Clayton. Inside Out 2, after its second weekend in release, is at $355 million domestic. That's its total. At the exact same point, after the end of its second weekend in release last summer, Barbie was at $351 million domestic after a $93 million second weekend. So whether this continues, we'll see. But Inside Out 2 now is officially pacing ahead of Barbie
Mhm.
in domestic. And that means that we are, because Barbie was a historic run. Barbie's a chapter of the BO Boys Book of Box Office someday. And Inside Out 2 now is pacing ahead of that. So I'll throw that to you. Where do you land? Not to compare these movies, other than the fact that Barbie is the most recent, I would say, gigantic box office phenomenon until Inside Out 2 happened. So, what are your thoughts on that Barbie Inside Out 2 comparison?
I mean, again, and I think I said in the last episode, I think I'm always going to fall on the side of Barbie in how impressive the achievement is, only
Mhm.
because of the complete tightrope circus act that
Right,
Greta and that whole crew had to navigate to make that movie what it was.
right, right.
Because it just I listen, I'm gonna come out and say it. We had arguments about it.
Oh,
Barbie and how I thought it was gonna do, how I thought it should be animated, things like that.
yeah.
And
Months ahead of time, you were fully calling Barbie a disaster, saying that the studio completely effed up, and you were using the full word. I'm trying to keep it
well, I did
PG
not I
for
mean,
syndication, but
I did not say that. I was saying that I wasn't sure about the creative direction of that movie, and there I mean,
you
it's
were
one of those
calling bomb. You were calling bomb.
I thought
You were calling bomb months ahead
underperformance,
of time.
I was saying underperformance, definitely, but I wouldn't say full on bomb.
I
But
would say you
anyway,
were calling bomb. I mean, it's I go back
it's
into the archives,
it's
listeners.
very
He was
easy
calling
for
bomb.
you to make up things that I've said,
All
and,
recorded. I've recorded all of it.
I mean, we do a podcast, so we record it unless you're recording our personal conversations a la Nixon, which I don't agree with. But, I mean, I'm also
Get your
recording all of
helicopter
our
ready. Get
I
your
well
helicopter ready.
I'm also recording our all of our so we have backups for your backups
Oh, perfect.
of all our conversations. I'm also
Right.
pulling a Nixon, so it's
Yeah.
nice to see that you're also doing that.
It's the
Anyway,
rare double Nixon, yeah.
so anyway, I still think that Barbie is more impressive just because of what it had to do and all of the sort of preconceived conceptions of what that movie should have been. Where this
Mhm.
is again a sequel to a huge hit. So it's a little bit easier to make this successful. Now, again, Pixar has been on a losing streak. They are creatively bankrupt, I believe, still when it comes to original films. And also, Inside Out 2 is not the most critically acclaimed of all the Pixar films, but I think that there is an appetite for kids movies for rats. I think we said this is the summer of the rats. They've come out in droves.
Mhm.
And so it beat the second weekend of Super Mario Brothers, which was 92.3.
Mhm.
It's the 7th biggest second weekend ever behind a bunch of Star Wars and Avengers movies
Yep.
and Jurassic World. I
Yep.
mean, those are huge, huge IPs,
Yeah.
you
If
know?
this is Hall of Fame, we're talking about box office Hall of Fame movies that it is in competition with at this point.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can't take away from the fact that this movie is making the money that it's making. It's impressive no matter what.
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
think a Barbie second weekend of '93 is more impressive only because of what that movie was. It was live action for
Right.
kind of for kids, but also for adults with a weird sort of parody energy to it that I think it's amazing that that movie made what it made.
Yeah, I think that the thing with Barbie is that's a movie where there's a scenario where that movie could, as you predicted, completely bomb.
Where
There's a version
Where it's
where
Fall
it's Fall
Guy.
Guy, or there's a version of Barbie where it's Josie and the Pussycats. I mean,
Yes.
that's a movie that was never a slam doink. Inside Out 2 was always going to be some version of a hit because even if it did a percentage of the first one, then it's most likely gonna be a big hit movie. The thing that happened here is that this is a full on, as our tribal chief Scott Mendelson would call this is a breakout sequel. And if throw your ones up, acknowledge our tribal chief. Inside Out 2 is a breakout sequel. I mean, Inside Out 2 is in some ways an Austin Powers 2.
Mm,
And it's odd to say that because Austin Powers 1, International Man of Mystery, was a modest success at the box office. I would say it probably ended up making like 45 million domestic.
if
While Inside
that.
Out 1 was a huge hit, made hundreds of millions of dollars. But in the same way where the second movie is doing multiples of the first one.
Mhm.
And in the way that Austin Powers found its audience on cable and on VHS, Inside Out 2, I mean, this is probably a beneficiary of kids for the last 6, 7 years watching this over and over again on Disney Channel, on Freeform, on Disney Plus, in
Mhm.
the way that a generation just rewatched the first Austin Powers movie on VHS. That's what happened with Inside Out 1, and
Yep.
we got a breakout sequel. We have an Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me on us right now.
Yeah, International Man of Mystery made 53.8, and then,
Okay.
of course, Shagged Me made
Yeah.
206.
Wow. Wow, that's what we have here. I mean,
Yeah.
Inside Out 2 is a shagged me situation. This is a
Mhm.
spy who shagged me. And, like, what do you chalk up to this level of being a breakout sequel? Why is Inside Out 2 a spy who shagged me?
I mean, that it's curious because I have not seen the first movie in years. I mean, we saw it I believe we saw did we see it together? I think we
We
saw it together.
we did not. I did take my mom to
Mhm.
see Inside Out, the original, in theaters.
Oh, you know what we saw together? The far superior Emoji Movie is what
Yes.
we saw that all together in a group with some
Yes.
previous guests, one of which Steve Bosu, who came on and
Uh,
talked about, Will Smith and, Bad Boys.
on a recent
So
episode.
and
Email us at theboboyspodcast at gmail.com if you want a personal, uh, picture that we took after that movie. I will send along the group photo that we took. It's a classic picture, um, of all of us at the Emoji Movie. I think one of the great pictures ever taken. If Life magazine still existed, I do think that photo would be a cover photo for Life magazine. Email us, theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. I'll send you a copy of that famous photo of the BO Boys and friends at the Emoji Movie.
I mean, I think there is, as I was saying before this movie came out, I thought Ennui was gonna be the big breakout. Obviously, that
Mhm.
has not happened. I've not seen any Ennui pillowcases. I haven't gone to a ice cream truck and seen you know, I've seen the Garfield ice cream bars. I've seen these, Spider-Man ice cream bars. I've not seen an Ennui ice cream bar, so I don't think
Right.
that it's hitting the way that I expected. I think anxiety is to blame here,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Is to blame, okay?
I say that because I think anxiety is one of those things that's so overstated in our society that everybody claims to have anxiety, and I believe that people are anxious because we live in a world that creates anxiety, but I just wanna say that I do think that, Pixar is like the home of anxiety. I think everybody who works at those places overstates anxiety as an emotion, and that seems to be what they're doing here is really spotlighting anxiety, and it seems to really have hit a chord with the nation because anxiety is a buzzword. You
Yeah.
hear anxiety all over the place. I'm anxious, I have anxiety, all these things. And I'd like to say to those people, with all due respect, welcome to the world. Welcome to living. Welcome to being around other people. It's anxiety inducing, right? But to make it into a malady of such high proportions is, I think, not healthy. And I think this movie is probably going to really create some issues down the line for a generation. But with that being said, I do think it has a lot to do with the success of this movie because of the buzziness of that emotion, quote unquote emotion.
So would you then give credit not just to the Disney marketing department here, but to the the overall American, uh, psychiatric community?
Mhm.
You
The
know, the
obsession with anxiety. Yeah, yeah.
well, I mean, do you give this credit to our nation's therapists and psychoanalysts? A
Oh yeah,
and
because
and medical professionals.
they have
And do they get I mean, listen, here's the thing, we could set this aside for a future episode that we're gonna have to do, which is to divvy up the millions, and probably divvy up the billions
Mhm.
for Inside Out 2, and I think America's, psychologists and psychotherapists are gonna get a percentage of this for turning anxiety into such a breakout character.
Oh, they've been greasing the wheels for that IP
Yeah?
for so long. For even I think even when we were younger. I mean, we
Oh,
started hearing
definitely,
about
decades,
that
yeah.
when we were in high school and things like that. So I do believe, yeah, when I think we have to wait for this run to be over because
Yeah.
we want to divvy up huge chunks.
Yeah, we're gonna
And
be divvying up, like, over 1,000,000,000 for sure if we go
it's a
worldwide, and
it's
who
gonna
knows?
be a
We could be divvying up Avatar money when this runs over.
it's gonna be $1 billion baby for sure. So we
Yeah.
should wait for that. But yeah, I mean, spoiler alert,
Yeah, spoiler
as they
alert.
used to say, that
Mhm.
yeah, I think the psychiatric industry is going to play a major part in why this movie did as well as it did.
Good for them.
And good on
Thank you, therapists. Hashtag thank you, therapists, for this incredible Inside Out 2 run.
Mhm. And good
Yeah.
on Pixar for jumping on that bandwagon and exploiting that
Yes,
because,
100%.
they're if someone's gonna make money off of it other
Yes.
than the psychiatrists and the mental health industry, so
Yeah,
why
yeah.
not Disney?
Why not Disney? Yeah, because if Disney isn't able to, and I don't think they do, correct me if I'm wrong, theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. I don't think that Disney owns a major pharmaceutical company. So I don't think Disney is getting in on actual selling of, anti-anxiety medication
Mhm.
where they could get their beaks wet there. But if they're able to now make box office money off of off of the anxiety crisis, then good for them because they don't own a pharmaceutical company and they need to
Mhm.
get a taste of this anxiety. Clayton, I'm going to throw this out to you. If Inside Out 2 is the Spy Who Shagged Me,
Mhm.
is anxiety, and I think you know what I'm going to say here, is anxiety mini me? Is anxiety the new breakout character of part 2 that catches on to such a level that it's going to be the character everyone's talking about? I mean, think I've told this story on the show before, but it's worth retelling. Back when I was at university, it was in the post Spy Who Shagged Me era, and Vern Troyer, the
Mhm.
famed thespian who played Mini Me, did an on-campus event at university, giving away, I think, maybe an early prototype of an energy drink or some kind of, like, golf ball or whatever it was he was giving away, and
You don't remember whether it was something you could drink or something you hit with a 9 iron?
either way, representatives from the company were throwing it into the crowd,
Okay.
and Vern Troyer was on stage, and he was introduced on stage as, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, representing this energy drink or golf ball is Mini Me." And
Okay.
he got on stage and he said, "Hey, it's Vern. It's Vern." He was very upset.
Mm.
But I think you couldn't blame that student from university who introduced him as Mini Me because Mini Me was one of the biggest things in culture at that time. Mini Me was the center of a breakout sequel,
Yeah.
Spy Who Shagged Me. So is that anxiety? And is I'm sorry, Maya Hawke. Ethan Hawke
Mhm.
is fine. He's not. But Maya Hawke, who plays anxiety, is she in danger of falling into the Vern Troyer career arc, where now she is forever just known as anxiety? If Maya Hawke is brought on stage at a university event to give out golf balls, energy drinks, whatever, does Maya Hawke get introduced to that crowd of students as anxiety? And she's got to say, "Hey, it's Maya." What do you think about that?
Ooh, I mean, it helps that it's a voice acting role
Okay.
and that you're not physically seeing the actor
Mm,
on screen playing anxiety. I think if that was the case, then yes, they would have an issue.
right, right.
Here, I think it only helps. It only helps their career because
Okay.
then when kids are, in the next few years going to see movies and they hear that voice and then they see that this person's actually an actor other than just a person that voices a cartoon, they may gravitate towards that movie because they have that comforting voice that they remember from a movie they loved.
Right,
So I think
right.
that's positive. I think, yes, if physically on screen Maya's in a fright wig and a huge
Mm,
grin like this character has, or whatever this character, this misshapen character has,
mhm.
that would be something that would be hard to live down. I think
Right,
it's
right.
positive that it's only a voice. So I think this is
Okay,
only positive for them. Now, will this get them gigs giving away golf balls slash energy drinks at campuses? Everybody tags people as nepo babies and they have it so easy. I mean, who knows how much money they actually have? They may want to do these college things. They may want to throw golf balls into a crowd of college students. Who knows? I mean, it's
okay,
good. It could be good spending money.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know Maya Hawke's finances. I don't know. Listen, we don't know how much Maya Hawke got paid for Inside Out too. I mean, famously, Bill Hader, as you said, was lowballed with
And
an
Mindy
offer to come
Kaling
back.
didn't come back. We
And
forgot to
Mindy Ka
mention Mindy Kaling because she got
Yeah,
lowballed as well.
so Maya Hawke might not have been getting top dollar. I mean, she's probably, this is a union gig, I think. So she's at least getting SAG scale to play anxiety, but she's probably not getting a percentage of all the anxiety dolls and all the anxiety, like, squeeze toys that they give kids so that, oh, squeeze anxiety when you're anxious, whatever. All the anxiety, like, put one of these pills under your mouth, under your tongue toys that
Mhm,
they're giving out that are, the Disney trying to get around pharmaceutical laws. They're just selling, put this under your tongue when you're anxious.
mhm,
She's not getting a percentage of that, I would think. So yeah, she's probably going to have to do campus events where she is promoting energy drinks, golf balls, koosh balls, those type of things, hats. Here's a new hat. um, I agree. She's probably not gonna get pegged as anxiety to the level that Vern Troyer got pegged as Mini Me, because Mini Me and Vern Troyer are so visually linked as
mhm.
one. It's hard to think of one without the other.
Yeah,
So, but there's always that chance. There's always that chance when you have such a breakout character that you can't get past it for the
mhm.
audience. So I think now it's a success, but she's gotta follow that up with something different.
Yes, yes. I mean, and as an actor, that is part of the gig. It is doing different things and expanding what your palette is, and I think that's something that they'll be able to do.
Yeah, yeah. So, we're about to be on a real ride with this movie, with Inside Out 2, because the fact that it is comping to Barbie means that this is gonna be probably the story of the summer. I mean, I'll throw that out here. Do you think there will be something else that surpasses Inside Out 2 as the story of the summer? The way last year Barbenheimer, but more specifically Barbie, was the story of the summer box office season. Is there anything looming that could supplant Inside Out 2, both in raw numbers, but just in terms of, wow, this is the thing we have to remember 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 30 years from now?
I mean,
Do you see Deadpool and Wolverine or Twisters or anything else? Do you think that could supplant Inside Out 2 as the story?
I think, just coming up next weekend, Horizon and American Saga
Mm,
Chapter 1, I mean, I do think that that is going to be a big story. Now, could it be
yeah,
the biggest story? Who knows? I think the influx of theater goers that you don't see in public places very often, in
mm,
crowded public places, is going to be a story. Now, will it be the story? I can't say that 100%, but we're also totally forgetting here a
okay.
movie you did not even mention, a July 4th movie,
Well,
Despicable Me 4.
my god, that's gonna be huge. But and we'll be previewing in a few weeks, but at this point, Inside Out 2 is just set the bar so impossibly high that I just but maybe the rats could do it. Could the rats top themselves
This is
with Despicable Me 4? Is it possible?
a sequel. I mean, Kung Fu Panda 4, not saying that it did Inside Out 2 business, but that
Mhm.
was a surprise to us. That movie opened huge compared
Mhm.
to the third entry. Now, Despicable Me is still a hot franchise. Kung Fu Panda had cooled. It was
Mhm.
just the resurgence of Jack Black as this beloved kids star. I mean, that's the thing is kids. I was listening to a podcast with Kevin Smith the other day, not one of
Oh,
his.
wow.
He was being interviewed and he said he was at a school and they were asking me a lot of questions about who he knew. Did he know this star? Did he know this star? And they asked if he knew Jack Black. Jack Black was one of the first words to come out of these kids' mouths because Jack Black is a huge kid star. And so I think that
But
this
could I just stop you there? What was his answer? Does he know Jack Black? I'm just
he had met
curious
he
as
had met Jack Black. Yes,
he
he had
had
met
met
Jack
Jack
Black.
Black.
And they were
Okay.
excited that he had met Jack Black.
Okay.
Now, when it comes
I
to
didn't know he met
Despicable Me, this is still a hot franchise. It is yet to have fallen off.
him.
It is as
Mhm.
hot as ever because the Minions are so, so big with small children, right? And I who knows? The rats are running this summer. So this we could see this opening equivalent to Inside Out 2. I and what I love about this is that Illumination was eating Pixar's lunch. It was coming over. It wasn't eating its lunch. It was coming over to its table at
Mhm.
lunch
Mhm.
and casually leaning on the cupcake and smashing it and
Mm.
being like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Pixar?
Right, right,
When's the next movie coming to theaters? Oh, yeah, we just made a movie about birds into a big hit.
right,
What do you got? What are you gonna do?" And then they
right,
come back with Inside Out 2. And
right,
now here we go. Illumination's like, maybe this isn't a runaway. Maybe we aren't dominating the way we thought we were. And this is going to
right,
be a big test for Illumination. Who's got the minds of the children? Who's
right.
got the rats mesmerized?
Yeah, who's got the rats by the tail right now?
Exactly. I
Yeah,
love this. I love because
yeah,
Pixar has not put up any fight against Illumination for a few years.
right,
And the fact that they're going not head to head, but pretty much head to head, because I mean, Inside Out 2 is going to still be going super strong when Despicable Me comes out.
right, right.
That's really, I love this as a storyline.
Yeah. No, it's good to see this level of competition because competition brings out the best in everyone, and it's been a while since it felt like Pixar and Illumination were in a legitimate fight, but you know what?
Mhm.
Pixar just landed a shot right to the nose, and
Yeah.
Illumination and Gru, they got some blood dripping out of their nose after this 2-week run of Inside Out 2. What do the minions do? Do the minions get punched and run away? Because they haven't been punched really in a while.
Mhm.
And so now we're going to see if the minions take the punch and they run, or they take that punch and they pick up a crowbar.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see the minions pick up a crowbar after they got punched in the nose, but who knows? This will be a big test for them. Um, I got to throw this out for both of us.
Mhm.
Now, Barbie last year, historic box office movie. I saw that opening weekend, saw it twice in the theaters. You did end up seeing Barbie in the theaters, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, because it had to be done. Had to
Mhm.
be done. Just all-time historic movie. Could not be a BO boy and not see that in the theater. Is Inside Out 2 becoming that situation? Do we need to see this in a movie theater? What is the number? What is the accomplishment that Inside Out 2 gets to that means we have to see this in the movie theater? Because I kind of feel like it's getting there. I mean, $100 million second weekend, biggest animated second weekend of all time. You know, I,
Uh,
we may have to.
yeah, I mean, I feel like unfortunately it's already there.
It's already there. Yeah.
It's already there. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
movie that we should see. I say that with so much disappointment because as much as I do root for box office, lest our listeners think otherwise, I do root for box office.
Yeah.
However, this movie is completely not for me. So as somebody who does enjoy films as a fan,
Mhm.
there is absolutely nothing of interest in this movie for me other than I do like Maya Hawke, and I do, hope that they do well in the future.
Right.
That's
And
it.
Lewis Black, you are a big Lewis Black fan.
Not a Blues Black fan, no.
Not okay, I thought you
Never
were.
would skip over those Back in Black segments
Wow, okay.
during, the Daily Show.
Okay, great. So you
Yeah.
you just wanted to get right to
I'm a Frank DeCaro guy.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I confused which of those you were a huge fan of, Lewis Black or Frank DeCaro. I knew it was one of those Daily Show
Yeah.
correspondents. And Vance DeGeneres, of course. You were hoping if Vance DeGeneres was a voice in this Inside Out 2 movie, would you be more excited to see it?
I had a lot of stock in Vance.
Yeah.
I thought he could be one of the rare guys that overtakes their more popular sibling.
Mhm.
Did not become the case,
Did not
so
happen. No.
did not happen, but there's
No.
still time. There's still
Yeah.
time. I mean, his sister has been disgraced.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course, the public has agreed Dakota Johnson ended his sister's career, so,
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But she did
S
not then kickstart Vance DeGeneres' career in that same appearance.
No,
She didn't
absolutely.
say, "Ellen, you didn't invite me to the birthday party, but you know who did? Vance DeGeneres."
Mhm.
And,
Your brother.
that your brother, and that, of course, leads to him being an Inside Out 2. That did not happen.
Mm-mm, no. So, yeah, so man, it's gonna be hard to drag myself to this thing.
Okay? If if there was a cut of Inside Out 2 that, because there's different versions of movies that screen in theaters. Of course, now there's closed caption versions, which is great for for hearing impaired. So there are different things you could overlay on a movie for people who have different needs. If there was an Inside Out 2 screening that just along the bottom of the screen, they display the day by days. They display the daily box office numbers for Inside Out 2, space it out so it runs the entire running time of the movie. So you could just focus on that. You're focusing on the day by days and the numbers. Would that be a version that is is at least more palatable for you to watch in
I'm
theaters?
you're saying so, kind of have like a ticker like they have on news
Yes.
stations, like
Yes, like VO
CNN.
alert, which I mean, honestly, we've said this before and people have brought that's what news stations should have anyway. It should not be, news alert. It should be BO alert. And it
Mhm.
should be we of course manage that or we have our interns do it. And it's just constant BO alerts of box office news. But yes, that if that was running along the bottom of an Inside Out 2 screening, would you be then more able to get through this movie?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's very novel, I'd have to, I
Yeah.
think, and, yeah, I mean, it'd be information I already knew, but it'd be nice to see the reaction from the crowd when they see it.
Yes. Yes, that would be the big thing is experiencing that with the crowd. And that's what we're gonna get to do with the live shows. Our live tour coming up in the fall is finally experience this with a live crowd, but I would love to experience some day-by-day box office numbers, in a live theatrical setting, and I think that's a great way of extending the runs of movies, is you get to week 8, week 9. Now you've got the version where the box office tallies are running along the bottom of the movie the entire length, and you get to see crowds react. Wow, look at the day by day. Look at day, 33. This movie still made $2.8 million, and people cheer. I'd love
And
to
you
see
show
that.
comps, and you show where it is
Yeah.
compared to the first one, or where it is compared to, Despicable Me 3 or whatever, like, really stoke that fire too if you wanna stoke the competition fire, that's
Yes.
always good, as we've said. Now, you
Could you
have
imagine Clayton, when we were younger and of course we're still young now and we look younger than ever, but when we were in 1997 and There's Something About Mary is
Mhm.
now in its 12th week, 13th week, whatever it is, and then they say, "Okay, this weekend There's Something About Mary the BO cut. Because I think
Mhm.
at that point they did, okay, this week it's the unrated cut, more hair gel, all that. But now it's the BO cut. And as you watch the movie, it's showing you the results along that historic run. So throughout the movie, there's something on Mary along the bottom. You're actually seeing the results. You're seeing it move up in the top 10. I
Mhm.
mean, you're licking your lips as I say this. Could you imagine getting to go to that version of There's Something About Mary in theaters and experiencing that with an audience, seeing it go, wow, last weekend it was number 7, now it's number 5, and in week 8, it is now number 1, and you're seeing that along the bottom of the movie. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think also at that time it was so much harder to find box office information,
Mhm.
because the internet was in its infancy as
Right,
something a consumer could actually have. And so you were less likely to have access to these sort of
right.
numbers and to be compiled the way they were. I mean, I think, yeah, that would be amazing. We do live in a different time where this stuff can be found on your phone, but I do think merging the two things, really showing that, you know, cinema is one thing, but also box office is another thing. And when you put them together, it creates a sport, which
Yes.
I think audiences love.
Yes. Well, I mean, the sports are right now pretty much the only thing that draws people to television. So let's add that to, yeah. This is, I think now we're at a point where this has to be done. We were saying this is a what if, and now I think it's by the time we've ended this conversation, it's a when. It is a just when will we be paid to apply this to actual movies and movie theaters. It's a when situation.
Now, let me ask you, Pat, since you are occasionally a guardian to young rats, are you gonna take them to see this film? I mean, is it on you to take them to this historic film? Because
So here's something. There are rats that I am often a guardian to. And in fact, I was with these rats this weekend,
Mhm.
and I'm often the one who brings them to movies, brought
Yeah.
them to their first movies, famously Minions 2 in the summer of 2022, took one of these rats to that as her first movie, taking her to Barbie, just many, many movies over these last few years. The rats that I am frequently a guardian to have already seen Inside Out 2. They saw it with friends. They could not wait.
Wow.
They could not wait. This is that level of phenomenon
That's
where the
huge.
rats are gnawing their way out of their cages. They are finding handlers that previously had not handled them before at the movie theater, and they are getting themselves to the movie. You know, the buzz for Inside Out 2 is harder for us to track
Mhm.
than something like Barbie, where our friends are talking about it, our, dates are talking about it, we're people at the office, at the water cooler. We can't obviously track Inside Out 2 in that same way, but I think on the playgrounds,
Yeah.
this movie is a full-on, again, Spy Who Shagged Me situation. This is all they are talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, there I mean, we are not by the monkey bars,
We're not by the
and
monkey bars, no.
and we shouldn't be. And all you Pixar perverts, don't take this opportunity to go to parks and try to talk to young people about this movie
Yeah,
because we know what you're doing. We
yeah.
know what you're doing,
Yeah.
okay?
Don't ask, "Hey, what do you think about anxiety?" Don't
Yeah,
use that as, yeah, don't go
yeah.
to the monkey bars.
So, I think, yeah, that is one of those things. Now, here's the question, is that situation gonna be the same for I'm sorry, for Despicable Me 4? Or since you did take them to Minions, will they think, "Oh, we gotta go
I
with the person who brought us to the first one"? I mean, this has to become sort of a ritual.
Right. I with these rats, I've already been told that we will be going to see the new Minions movie
Good.
in a few weeks.
That's
So,
nice, that's
but
nice.
but Inside Out 2, clearly a phenomenon on the level where these rats cannot wait. They cannot wait to see it. And, yeah, I do think, especially since now I won't be, uh taking, the rats who I'm often a guardian to see Inside Out 2, I do think this opens up the door where the BO boys together maybe even wannabe senior intern Christopher might have to make a trip down to the city during the summer, and it's got to be a full on company event.
Well, as you know, he's in France.
He is well, he's traveling through Europe, and I think he is signing baguettes. He did promise if you bring him a baguette, he will sign a baguette. Wannabe senior intern Christopher. So if you
Mhm.
are a listener in French, parlez-vous français? And yes, Christopher will be signing baguettes. But
I
yeah,
I don't condone the use of French as a language on this podcast. I just want
okay,
you to know. I don't condone that.
okay. Well, two
We talk
of
about domestic box office, we don't talk about worldwide box office.
well, all I know is Christopher, he's signing baguettes, but if he gets himself back to the States in the next few weeks, I think come straight to New York, get off, have them reroute the jet to New York City, and let's all go see Inside Out 2 because it's that level of phenomenon. Um, is there anything else in this top 10 that we need to touch on? I mean, the Apes, you touch on it briefly, doing fantastic. The Apes now are at 164 domestic, which is uh now almost 20 million more than War for the Planet of the Apes finished at in 2017. So we could safely say the Apes are a franchise on the rise
Mhm.
with this outing. And it's clear you got to make more of these Apes movies. And something that our tribal chief, Scott Mendelson, talked about in his write up this weekend is that the story of the box office summer right now seems to be the holds and the fact that audiences are seeing movies very late into their runs.
Mhm.
Fall Guy has ended up doing a really good multiplier of where it started, and things like Apes have held so well, and If has held incredibly well. So that is a big story here is that people are going to the movies. They're going to the movies in the way that they used to go, which is I don't have to catch it opening weekend.
Mhm.
So it's a great story to see. It's going to be interesting to see if the theaters and the studios now could manage this shift, because part of that shift is you got to leave stuff in the theaters because people will go to see it later. Is that movie going to still be in theaters, and will it just be available for free on a streamer at that point?
Well,
Those are the variables here.
yeah, and, the ace Eric Weber, of course,
Yes.
is a big proponent of Windows. He's always talking about Windows. He wants to be in
Longer
charge of the
windows.
windows, longer windows,
Yep.
and I agree. With this shift, I mean, it's so hard to turn the Titanic around, as they say, and
Right.
I think
But I think
movie
the ace
studios.
Eric Weber could have done it. If he was the captain of the Titanic back
Absolutely.
on that fateful journey, the ace Eric Weber might have been the one person who could have gotten around that iceberg
Now the
by
problem with
just
that, though.
yelling at that iceberg so loudly, the iceberg would have shifted.
Now, unfortunately, when you bring up that idea of changing history, where I agree with you, I do think that that would happen. You
Yeah.
then take away one of the biggest box office hit movies of all time,
Right.
Titanic, because it never happened. Therefore, does Leo become a huge
Wow.
star? Kate Winslet, does she become an all-time actor? These are
Right.
things that if Eric
Is
Weber was
Cameron
back.
making Avatar
What's
movie, yeah,
Cameron doing? Yeah, is he
yeah,
making Avatar? Does he have the money and the clout to do so? So, I do think by giving Eric Weber that great compliment, you're
right,
also destroying fundamental box office achievements that
right,
would maybe even make it so that we're not here. So,
right,
that is
right,
a dangerous proposition, although it would
yeah.
save some lives who would already be dead by now, so who cares? So, I do
That's
think
the
the
thing, they'd be
Titanic
dead
should
by
have
now.
happened. I
Yeah.
believe that the Titanic needed to happen for box office.
Yes.
Those brave souls, didn't realize what their sacrifice would lead to, which is Leo being an all-time star, Kate Winslet being one of the most
Right,
amazing actors we've had the privilege to see on the big screen, James Cameron being king of the world. All these things are more
right,
important than the lives on the Titanic. I'm sorry.
right. Well,
I need to say
especially
that.
now, because they
Now.
would have passed now from and probably in even worse ways.
Mhm.
Think of how people died in those times. they were about to just go through all these diseases that we had no cures for, and, the Great Depression would have been miserable for them, and all this. They all would have had terrible lives, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
So
here's a great pitch for a Final Destination. They haven't made a new one in a long time.
oh, wow.
Someone turns the Titanic around, and then you've got all these Titanic survivors who, you know,
Oh,
all of a
wow.
sudden, death comes for you.
Yeah,
So, I think that's an idea. But,
that's a
as I
great
was
idea.
saying with
Yeah,
the windows is that, the movie industry needs to do that. They need to realize this is how people see movies now. Streaming is sort of tanking as well. All these big streaming movies that have come out in the past few, months have not been setting the world on fire. I mean, people wanna go to a theater to see a movie, and then if they miss it, they wanna watch it on streaming. They don't want these new streaming movies. They just don't.
right, right.
And so I think Hollywood has to respond, and they've been so slow for so long. Somebody has to come and say, "We gotta do this quick. We gotta change the way we do these releasings quick," because then you're gonna see these movies accumulate box office by
Yes,
just letting them run. I mean, again, I don't like to, pat, Amazon on the back, but they did a really good job with Challengers.
they did. Yes, they did a good job with Challengers, and, that's a movie that didn't get itself to, 80 or 90 million, but it got itself over 50 million
Mhm,
for a just, tennis hangout movie, and that's because it played a really long time. It was never available for free, which is anything that's on Amazon Prime is for free because everyone has Amazon, by
mhm,
default. So, the fact that something like War for the or, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes wasn't put on D plus in weekend 5
mhm.
is a reason that now in weekend what is this? Weekend 7, it made another 3.6 million.
Yep. But again,
So,
Challengers is a movie, good to go back to that movie, is, a movie that is training young people to see those sort of movies, and that will
yes,
reap fruit if you put those movies in theaters and you keep them in theaters. Hitman's a perfect example. If Hitman came out after Challengers, you're gonna see that movie could have made 50 to 60
yes,
and
yes,
set up Glenn Powell for a huge, huge opening with Twisters.
yes,
And it's
100%.
short-sighted not to do that sort of thing.
Yes. Um, Before we wrap on this, I mean, we haven't talked about this, but I'm gonna throw this out here as something we do have to talk about, and that is a film that opened this weekend in semi-ish, wide-ish release from Magnolia Pictures,
Ugh,
Thelma.
are you ta
I'm
We're
talking
really
about
gonna talk
Thelma.
about June Squibb an hour into this episode.
This is what the wannabe boys, wannabe girls, wannabe people,
People.
what they listen to this show for. Because yes, we are an hour into this episode, an episode in which a weekend in which Inside Out 2 made $100 million in its second weekend. And we right now are going to talk about, yes, this movie starring June Squibb as a cantankerous old lady. I'm not saying that with derision. She is playing an old lady
Woman of a
and
certain age?
a woman of, well, is this the return? We declared that genre dead with Summer Camp, the woman of a certain age, person of a certain age
Person.
movie. Um, we declared that dead with the bombing of Summer Camp. But when you look at this new June Squibb star and the fact that it did $2.2 million, came in eighth, nipping at the heels of The Exorcism, and who knows, maybe when the actuals come in tomorrow, that might flip flop, and Thelma might be number 7. Um, I think we got to say that you can't take that genre off life support just yet. You know,
Mhm.
Rip up that DNR because Thelma has got a pulse. And June Squibb has got a GD pulse at the box office this weekend. Do not put June Squibb and Thelma into that fiery pit where then June Squibb's ashes are spread around a tree or a backyard or junkyard or wherever she, specified in her will. Do not do that yet because this movie made over $2 million at the box office.
Actually shocked to see that how close it was to The Exorcism, and its per theater average was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean,
1,700 bucks a theater. I mean, more than anything up to, Bike Riders at number 3.
mhm. I mean, June Squibb is sort of a sneaky value add,
Mhm.
and now we're seeing that she is a possible solo star.
Yes. Yes. I mean, and I'm looking at the promotional picture that Magnolia Pictures sent around. It's at the top of this Deadline article, June Squibb and Thelma, and it's her on a I can't tell if it's a rascal or a motorcycle, but she's in a old age facility just screaming her head off in glee, riding down the hallway. I think it's a rascal. I don't know. Are you looking at this picture on the Deadline article? It's tough to tell whether it's a rascal or a motorcycle, but that's what you want out of a promotional photo of Thelma starring June Squibb is you want to be tricked into, it's like, is it the old lady or young woman magic eye photo? Is June Squibb on a rascal or a Harley?
I will give a third option. I think this is a moped.
You think it's a moped. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Which is, I guess, the
Or a
is
scooter, or that like, a moped is a scooter, right?
Yeah, yeah, a moped scooter, which I guess a
It's not a
moped
rascal. It's for sure not a rascal.
it's not a rascal. Okay, and mopeds are basically the perfect in between motorcycles and rascals. When you're young, you're on a motorcycle. When you're middle-aged, it's a moped. When you're elderly, it's a rascal, but she's elderly and she's not on a rascal. She's on either a Harley or a moped.
Now, Richard Roundtree is in this film,
The late Richard Roundtree.
and Parker Posey,
Okay.
Malcolm McDowell, Clark
Wow.
Clark Gregg is
Clark
in this
Gregg,
film.
okay. Director of Choke, yeah.
Nicole Baer is in this
Nicole
film
Bear, okay, from, the not the cake show on, Nailed It, Nicole Bear.
from Nailed It.
Yep.
So, I mean, all-star cast.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Clark Gregg was one of the stars of the MCU movies, so you're getting to leverage that box office and that fame that he brings from that. Of course, Malcolm McDowell, fresh off Clockwork Orange, so that you're lending that star power still.
Mhm.
And I mean, listen, our Gen X queen. We
Parker
we
Posey.
bow to our
My
Gen
Gen
X
X
queen,
queen.
Parker, but mine as well. Party girl, of course. So uh, she brings a certain audience to this movie. And I think what's great about this cast is they're bringing different generations. June Squibb bringing that greatest generation uh, to the theater. Parker Posey bringing us Gen Xers. Malcolm McDowell is there for the boomers who were, hot off a Clockwork Orange.
Richard
So,
Roundtree bringing the recently dead.
yes, yes, that's true. Yeah. I mean, you underestimate how much audience a deceased posthumous performance can bring for that demographic of recently dead. Yeah.
Dark Knight.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Is Thelma Richard Roundtree's Dark Knight?
Mhm.
That's something we could definitely talk about as this run progresses. And we will, of course, be spending a lot of time talking about this Thelma run and just how much of a star June Squibb proves to be this summer.
Yeah. At
Um,
first, I was really gonna poo-poo you for bringing this up, and, well, number 1, I was going to praise you for having a little bit of patience to not have this be the first story that we talk about. I know there was an inkling. I know you were thinking of starting with
right,
Thelma. If I didn't start from the plow with the exorcism, you would have went straight
right,
into Thelma. But I do
right.
thank you for your patience in that. But the fact that this made $2 million, it is noteworthy.
Oh, it's very noteworthy. It's for sure noteworthy, and if you are June Squibb's management team, and I'd say she is, I'm sure, has a massive team, publicists and social media managers,
Mhm.
agents, of course, high-powered agents, hairstylists and the like, bodyguards, of course, armed security at all times, her team.
Mhm.
And they're sitting down today, after this opening weekend. Now it's all about fielding those next offers and about seeing, okay, we're not just planning for the next movie, but what is the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years of June Squibb's career look like
Mhm.
coming off of Thelma? Because it can't just be a short-term play if you are June Squibb's management team. You gotta look long term and use Thelma and this opening weekend of Thelma to set her up for the next decades or 2 decades plus of her career.
Yeah, I mean, do you see a late stage action pivot the way Liam Neeson did? Do you think June Squibb is going to be and this is listen, we were talking about Will Smith and how this was worst case scenario for him.
Right.
I think June Squibb, there's a good scenario where she's in a Frank Grillo movie.
Well,
I mean,
that's
June
yeah.
Squibb and Frank Grillo in an action movie together?
There is a red box cover right there because they're not getting Will Smith. And I know our listeners and especially our new YouTube commenters are very excited that we are once again talking about Will Smith and how great his run is in
Mhm.
Bad Boys 4.
And just how great he is as a star
Yes, yes, yes.
and a
And we presume
person.
as a person, we presume based on these box office numbers.
And that's all
And
we take when we take into account people and their personalities, we only really take in box office because we are the
yes,
BO boys.
yes. So they're not those C and D action films made in Croatia, they're not getting Will Smith
No.
because he's back as a star. But that creates an opening of who does Chad Michael Murray co-star with? You need a bigger star than Chad Michael Murray for it to be worth making these set in filmed in Croatia action films. And now I think June Squibb is in that conversation after the opening weekend of Thelma, where you could bankroll a movie because June Squibb is gonna come in, she's gonna film for 1 day, and
Mhm.
you're gonna pay her her quote, and June Squibb's gonna be in 3 scenes, and she's gonna blow away the bad guy with a gun, otherwise, she's just gonna be sitting in a storage closet,
Mhm.
but that is now a bankable movie because you're paying June Squibb her quote to come to Croatia and film Impossible to Kill, you know, Death Squad.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Tom Berenger, right? After
Right.
these ride or die numbers, you've kicked over your couch, you've screamed, you've said the F word several times.
Yeah, because you can't co-star with Will Smith, yeah.
But then you sit down, you meditate, you
Yes.
you think on it, you rally, you stand up, you grab your cell phone, you call your agent, you say, "Give me Squibb."
Get me Squip. I mean, you gotta pay her. You're gonna have to pay her, and I hope Berenger know they're gonna have to pay her. She's making more than him.
That's
That's for
fine.
slam doink because Tom Berenger as Thelma does not open this movie in the top 10.
No.
So Squibb is the star. But now she is a viable, above the title, straight to red box action star. And that's part of the plan, but this 25-year plan that June Squibb's team has to put together, that's only a part of it. So she's gonna be
Mhm.
in the action films, filmed in Croatia. I think you're looking for rom-coms, you're looking for, "Hey, she now should be getting those scripts that Jane Fonda and Diane Keaton and Lily Tomlin were getting for these high concept people of a certain age movies, and she's the lead now.
Mhm.
You know, she gets the A script in that genre, and it's Diane Keaton and Jane Fonda are now playing second fiddle to June Squibb. She's the one who is in a romantic, entanglement with Aidan Quinn in
Mhm.
these movies. And, Diane Keaton is the one who's rooting for her, not the other way around.
Oh,
June
she's effing Jim's dad in the next movie.
Yes. Well, I mean, you don't after the performance of Summer Camp, we're not bringing Eugene Levy back into these films.
Right, that's true, that's true.
It's Andy Garcia. But you gotta back up the Brinks truck and get Andy Garcia into one of these movies where it's him and June Squibb in a
Mhm.
romance.
Mhm.
That's where you go. So, yeah, it's a great day to be, the people behind Inside Out 2, and it's a great day to be June Squibb off of this opening weekend of
And it's
Thelma.
always a great day to be Will Smith.
Of course, it's a great day to be Will Smith. We don't want our listeners, our emailers, our YouTube commentators to think we're giving Will Smith short shrift in this episode because we are not.
Mm-mm.
No. So on that note, email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. We love getting your emails. We love responding to your emails directly and not in some kind of uh, you know, inside way on the show. We directly give you an answer if you email us. So the boboyspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know boots on the ground reporting, theatrical experience you had, predictions. And if there are stars that you think we don't talk about enough on this show,
Mhm.
send us an email. We'll, of
Yeah.
course, respond directly to you about that. So the boboyspodcast@gmail.com. Watch us on YouTube. Same thing. We every episode's on YouTube. Comment below, let us know, give us direct feedback about the episodes, and we will address them directly. We will address your concerns, obviously, if you comment on our YouTube videos,
Mhm.
and we will make sure to rectify any complaints that you have. So watch us on YouTube and, of course,
Especially
comment.
Yeah, and especially if you're new, and somebody who's never made a comment on any of our videos or interacted with us at all
Yes.
before, this time, just feel free to just comment.
Yes, 100%, and those are the ones that we will deem most important. So
Mhm.
definitely do that. Of course, subscribe to the BO Boys YouTube channel. Follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod. Want to BO Senior Intern Christopher. Even in Europe, Sign and Baguettes putting up all these clips, all these vertical clips continue to go up. Incredible work by Wannabe O Senior Intern Christopher. He wants that carrot that we're dangling, which is to be the VP of interns. And yeah, he's going for it as he signs baguettes. So follow us at the BO Boys Pod. Subscribe to the Substack. Wannabe O Junior Intern has brought back the Substack. He is out on a very important mission right now. So his writing has slowed in the last few weeks, but he will be back and the Substack continues to chug along. So, of course, subscribe and follow there. And the live show tickets, the LA show is on sale. So buy tickets for that. Link in the show notes. Boston, New York. Has been saying it, but very soon. These tickets will go on sale very soon for Boston, where Kirk Minahan will be the guest. New York City, we've got Brett of the New Flesh is going to be our special guest there, along with others. So tickets on sale very soon there.
And I'll say with the delay, I'll just wanna tell people why there's a delay is that they're reinforcing their website because both of these venues because they're understanding there's gonna be a crash once these tickets go on sale,
Yeah,
that there's gonna be just a avalanche of clicks that they have to make sure doesn't crash their websites.
we don't want
So,
an Affordable Care Act website situation redux
no.
here. So we are reinforcing all of these websites with solid steel beams. It's going to be very, very well reinforced. So tickets on sale soon for New York City and Boston. Get your LA tickets and 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And my God, Clayton, I think we've done it.
Oh, you've said it all, Pat, maybe too much. There's
Maybe.
nothing left to say,
Oh, definitely not. All right, bye.
except for until next time. Will
Will smell
smell
you
you
At
At
the box
box
office.
office. Nailed it.